Hello everyone, Tina here. Welcome to Try It Out Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to make another winter scene card, and we're using a stamp set from Spellbinders Fun Stamper's Journey called Snow Caps. I actually had picked this up a while ago. It was on sale at a fabulous price. I'm not sure if they have this anymore in the shop, but if they do, I'll list it down below. I thought it was super fun. These are actually larger images, and I think they're going to make a really playful and fun winter card. There's a solid image of the cap, and then you have 3 pom-poms, and then you have the cuff of the winter cap, and then you have a whole bunch of different layers that you can layer above the solid image. So sky's the limit with the colors and the mixing and the matching. The extra prints that you can layer on that solid snow cap, there's 4, and they're all different patterns, kind of like you could decorate Easter eggs. You can decorate the caps the same way. And then also the cuff of the cap too. There's 4 different prints that you can use to create a fancy little cap cuff. Okay, we have 3 different inks. I'm using my Memento inks. I wanted colors that would layer nicely together. Hindsight, I think even if you wanted to use your Distress Oxide inks, I think that would layer beautifully too. But I have the blue is Summer Sky, and I'm going to stamp my solid cap with that along with my green ink. My green ink is New Sprout. We'll ink this up and stamp that. We're just going to make 2 hats today. Now, after we have our hats done, we're going to go ahead and do a little layering. There are some zigzag lines. I'm going to stamp that with my yellow ink. This is Cantaloupe, and I'm stamping it over my green cap. So we have one cap that's green and yellow, and then we're going to need another little decorative piece, and there's one that almost looks like a pineapple. I'm going to take that and ink that up with my green ink and stamp it on the blue cap. So my blue cap will be blue and green, my yellow cap will be yellow and green. Okay, now we need to do the cuff of our winter cap. We'll stamp one with our green ink, and then we'll clean it off and then stamp one more time, but this time with our blue ink. I wanted some my card today, I'm going to be using some pattern papers, so I'm trying to coordinate my inks with my pattern papers. Pattern papers, we're going to be using some yellows and oranges, some blues, and I think this is going to work out great. I did the detail lines for my cap. I stamped that with a green ink on the blue cap bottom, and then we'll stamp the one that has the triangles on it. I stamped that with blue ink on my green cap cuff. So bottom of the cap is all done. Now we need some pom-poms. We're going to take the one pom-pom that kind of looks a little wonky, and I want to layer them together, so there's 2 different colors on the pom-poms, but I wasn't sure what color to go with which cap. So we stamped the blue, we'll clean it off, and then I'll pick up some yellow ink and stamp that right on top of the blue. And that really wasn't a great color combination, so we're going to do a redo of that one. And this time we're going to take a different pom-pom. We'll stamp it with green ink. This one kind of looks like a candy, and then we'll go over it, twist it a little bit, stamp in the same place with the blue ink. And I like that one. That one was really nice. The blue and green work really well together. Next we're gonna take that wonky pom-pom, try it one more time with the blue ink, and I kind of overloaded the ink with that time, so we're gonna stamp it once more right above it, and then I'll clean it off and we'll pick it up with the green ink. And I like that color combination, as I did with the candy shaped pom-pom. We're going to stamp one more, this time using yellow ink. This is the candy shaped one, and then we will clean off our stamp and then pick up one more color. I think we're going to use the blue with the yellow, and I think that's going to work out just fine. I went ahead and die cut out actually I didn't die cut. Take it back. You can see I have my fussy cutting scissors. I fussy cut each one of my elements out. Scanning cuts would work great. I just left a little bit of a white border using my scissors, and it really very, very simple to fussy cut out, guys. And I'm kind of figuring out what cuff and what pom-pom I want to go with what hat, and I think that's going to work out great. I love the soft colors. I went ahead and added foam adhesive behind the cuff of my winter caps, and then put that on the bottom, and then I added one foam square on the top and added my pom-poms to each of my caps. So they're good to go. Now we're going to use some glue, and then I'm going to just add a little bit of a light layer above the white area of my fussy cutting, and then a little bit on the upper portion of that cap area. We're going to add a little dot to each one of our pom-poms. The glue that I'm using is the glue I haven't used in a long time, but it's available in my shop, and I'll link it down below. But I'm going to bring in some Sparkle Cuts. Sparkle Cuts is like a sparkly iridescent glitter from Spellbinders. We're going to add some over that glue that we just adhered. I'm going to use my tweezers. It's a little bit easier to tap off when you have it with the tweezers. And this will dry pretty quick. I'll do the same thing, just adding a little sparkle to our winter cap. And then our second cap is good to go. And we'll go ahead and funnel this back in here. I kind of made a mess, so we're going to pick some up with our little mini vacuum. And then we're going to continue on doing a little bit of die cutting. I have some winter snowflakes. I'm not sure what the name of this die set is. It's from MFT, but I don't think they sell this anymore. But I like the largest one in here because it's like a chunky sized snowflake. Easy to die cut, and it's also on the thicker side, I guess you could say. I'm going to flip them over, and then we'll add foam squares behind it. The center of these snowflakes actually punch out. I left the center piece in. This way I can add a large foam square behind it. This one I put on backwards, so I'm going to flip it around. You can see that little piece that punches out. I'm just going to replace it, and then since my foam square is larger, it's just going to help tack it down. So I have 3 snowflakes, and if I can find this die set too, guys, I'll list it below, but I don't think I've used it before, and I don't think I can find it. But here is my paper pad that we're going to be using. This is one that I picked up from Hobby Lobby, and it is from Authentique, and I believe the name of the paper pad is Latest and Greatest Collection. And we're going to take some pattern papers from that. I have a zigzag die set here. This is from Paper Rose Studio, and it comes with 3 different zigzags. Some of the larger ones have dash detail in there, but I'm taking the largest, and we're going to die cut out the stripe paper with it. The second largest will have the print, and then the third will be the yellow pattern paper. Just run those through my die cutting machine. Now for my background, I used the blue plaid pattern paper in that pack, and I just trimmed it down using my stitched rectangle die, and we're going to mat that on some white cardstock. So I used my paper trimmer and trimmed out a slightly larger piece. I like the white border on this. It's going to leave me. Now we're going to add adhesive behind our largest zigzag. Add that towards the bottom of our panel, and I'm making sure that my zigzag is centered. I need to scoot this over a little bit more, actually. And I think that's going to work out great. Next, I use my tape runner and adhere our printed pattern paper. This is like a scripty print. It's like gray, a light gray and a dark gray. And we'll adhere that right above it. And then last but not least, we're going to adhere our yellow print zigzag paper. This actually has small florals on it, but you can't tell because of how thin the zigzag is. But instead of using my tape runner for this piece, we're going to go ahead and use some glue. And I've had a lot of people ask how come I don't use this all the time during my videos. I love this glue because of the wand, and I like it's not as messy as using for example, my Barely Art glue, but sometimes companies prefer me only using their products, and so that's why I don't use this glue. So it's not that I don't like it, it's just that I have to use other companies' products. Okay, now once my zigzags are adhered, I'm going to go ahead and do a little more die cutting. I have the This is from Hero Arts, the Thanks Stamp and Cut die set. This is an oldie but goodie. I've had this forever and I love the Hero Arts stamp and die cut sets. I'm going to actually tape down the word thanks on some white cardstock, run this through my die cutting machine. You'll see an earthquake happen here in just a minute. My camera is attached to my table, and so whenever I run my die cutting, my die cuts through my Platinum 6, the whole table shakes. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to use my tool and we're going to punch out the thanks, leave it inside our negative piece, and this is going to help me at least align it when I stamp it. The word thanks right on top. There is the same thanks in the stamp set, so I picked that up and we're stamping it with a gray ink. I believe this is Fog. It's a dark gray ink, guys, and London Fog maybe. I stamped that right over my die cut images. I'm going to punch out all the little pieces, and so now we have a gray thanks, and I think that's going to work great with our sentiment. Now I want a secondary sentiment to go with the thanks, and so in the Stamp and Cut set, the secondary sentiment set, there's lots of them, and I chose the one that says "You made my day." I'm going to stamp it with the same gray ink, and at first I was going to block it off, and then I changed my mind. I thought I want to adhere the word thanks to the secondary sentiment, so I'm stamping it on the bottom of my negative thanks white cardstock, and then I'm bringing in a ribbon die from Paper Rose Studio, and we're going to die cut this out on a strip. So it's basically centered on a strip that kind of looks like a ribbon. And at least I'm hoping it's centered. It's kind of, it may be nicer just to die cut out a white strip and stamp on that, but I think I got lucky because it die cut out pretty straight here. Okay, You Made My Day is all good to go. Now we'll put this back, and yes, this is called Ribbons from Paper Rose Studio. We're going to go ahead and take our card base, which is a standard A2 size card base, and we're going to add our background panel. To adhere it, I'm using some foam sheets from Spellbinders. I've mentioned this before, but this is a huge pack of foam sheets, guys. You get 10 in this pack, and 7 sheets of white, 3 sheets of black, and there's no adhesive on them, so you have to add your own, but it's very, very great price point. I'll list it down below if you guys are interested in some foam sheets. I'm going to go ahead and take my tape runner and add adhesive behind my panel, and then I'll go ahead and add my panel to my foam background. This is great for mailing too. It doesn't smush as much as your 3M foam tape. And then after we have our foam adhered, we need to adhere this to our card base, and I'm just using some double-sided tape that I had in my stash. I just add 3 strips, remove the release paper, and then we'll center that and put it on a card base. Okay, now we're going to grab our little snow caps. We're going to put some foam adhesive behind these. And I do want them kind of overlapping each other, kind of crisscrossing them, and we'll place them on our card. And here's where we're going to take our thanks, and I'm just going to flip it over and add a little bit of adhesive behind the T and the H, and then the K and the S. And then this way we can tack it down to our secondary sentiment. This is nice because it's a kind of a delicate thanks, and I don't have to fuss with adding foam adhesive behind it, because basically the secondary sentiment is what we're going to pop up. Okay, I went ahead and did pop that up and put it on my card base. I tucked one of the snowflakes in that top left corner. The second one we're going to put in the bottom right corner, and this third one we're going to trim down a little bit and do a little tucking underneath our sentiment, just to add a little winter feel. I think the snowflakes are going to go perfect with this. Next, I did angle off my sentiment so it's not overhanging on my card base, and as I'm looking at it, I think I'm going to do a little change up, guys. I'm going to take that thanks die and I'm going to use some yellow cardstock. This is saffron card, no, maybe beeswax. Beeswax cardstock from Spellbinders Color Essentials. I'm going to go ahead and add some glue behind it after I die cut out the word thanks, and we're going to replace this over our gray thanks. I think there was a lot of patterns going on and that gray was kind of getting lost, so adding the yellow I think really just makes it stand out a little bit more, and brings out a little bit more of the yellow zigzag patterns papers. And I'm happier with this. You'll see in the close-ups. Kind of looks a little bit orangey here, but it's actually yellow. But that's my project today, guys, using the Snow Caps stamp set for my Try It Out Tuesday. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.